Every night, the dog waited. Not for food, not for shelter. It waited for the sound of footsteps on the asphalt, the familiar rumble of an engine slowing down. But the road, stretching out into the darkness, stayed empty. Night. After night, the silence was its only companion. A heavy, hollow silence that echoed the emptiness inside its chest. The dog once had a home. It was a place filled with the scent of cooking and the sound of laughter. Voices were warm there, and hands gentle and kind would often touch its head, ruffling its fur in a way that made its whole body relax. It knew the rhythm of that home, the morning rush, the quiet afternoons, the evening gatherings. It was a world of simple, predictable comforts. A world where it belonged. Then one day, everything changed. The family got into the car, just like they always did. The dog, excited for a ride, jumped in, its tail thumping against the seat. They drove for a long time, much longer than usual, out past the familiar streets and into the countryside where the houses grew sparse and the fields stretched wide. The car slowed, pulling over to the side of a deserted road. The door opened. The dog, thinking it was time for a walk, leaped out onto the grass, its nose twitching with new smells. But the walk never happened. The car door slammed shut. The engine roared back to life. Confused, the dog watched as the car pulled away, picking up speed. It started to run, its legs pumping, its heart pounding in its chest. It barked, a desperate, pleading sound lost in the wind. But the car just kept going, a shrinking red dot that eventually vanished into a cloud of dust on the horizon. So the dog stayed. Right there on that patch of grass by the side of the road. At first it was a decision born of confusion and a desperate hope. It believed they would come back. It had to be a mistake. They would realize they'd left it behind and turn around. So it sat, its eyes fixed on the point where the car had disappeared, and waited for its return. The first day turned into the first night. The hope was a fire, burning bright against the cold.
Days
Bled into weeks, and the seasons began to shift. The fire of hope dwindled to a stubborn ember, but it refused to be extinguished. The dog learned the harsh lessons of survival. Hunger, a constant gnawing pain, drove it to search for scraps in overflowing trash cans and hunt for small creatures in the fields. Thirst led it to muddy puddles and morning dew on leaves. It learned to find shelter from the biting wind and pouring rain under broken roofs of abandoned barns or inside hollow logs. The world was no longer a place of comfort, but a battlefield where every day was a fight to see the next sunrise. People passed by. Cars and trucks sped down the road, their occupants just fleeting glimpses behind glass. Sometimes a driver would slow down, a face peering out with pity or curiosity before accelerating away. Children on bicycles would point, their voices carrying on the wind. Some people walking their own dogs would pull their companions closer, their eyes wary. A few times someone left a bowl of food or water by the roadside. The dog would eat, but it never followed them. It never took the offering as an invitation to a new life. Its loyalty was a chain, tethering it to this one specific spot. No matter where its search for food took it during the day, no matter how far it roamed, every evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, it made its way back. Back to the same patch of grass, back to the empty road. It would sit, a lone silhouette against the fading light, and it would wait. The waiting was no longer born of hopeful expectation. It had become a ritual, a duty. It was the only thing that made sense in a world that had stopped making sense long ago. It was a vigil for a life that was gone, a promise it couldn't break. One evening, as twilight painted the sky in shades of purple and orange, the familiar routine was broken. A different car, one the dog had never seen before, slowed down and pulled over to the exact same spot where its own journey had ended. The engine cut out, and the sudden silence felt profound. The driver's side door opened, and a stranger stepped out. He was a man, his face etched with the lines of a long day. He stood there looking at the dog. The dog looked back, its body tensing. For a fleeting, heart-stopping moment, something stirred within it. A flicker of the old hope. Could it be? Had someone finally come for it? The man's gaze was steady, not filled with pity, but with a quiet understanding. The dog held its breath, its ears perked, every fiber of its being focused on this single, pivotal moment. The world seemed to pause. But the moment passed. The stranger didn't speak. He didn't move closer. He simply got back into his car, closed the door, and started the engine. The headlights cut through the growing darkness as he drove away, leaving the dog once again in the solitude of the roadside. This time, the dog did not run. It did not bark. There was no desperate chase, no frantic plea. They simply watched the red taillights disappear. Then it lowered its head, and with a quiet sigh, sat down again. The ember of hope had finally turned to ash. The road remained the same. Cars and trucks continued to pass, their journeys beginning and ending somewhere far beyond the dog's small world. The seasons turned, bringing blistering heat and then biting cold. The dog kept waiting. It was a different kind of waiting now. It wasn't because it still believed they would come back. That belief had been worn away by too many empty sunrises and lonely nights. It waited because leaving felt like a betrayal. Leaving this spot would mean accepting that the life it once knew was truly over. It would mean breaking the silent vow it had made to its own memory. So it stayed, a faithful guardian of a forgotten promise, loyal not to the people who had left, but to the love it refused to let die.
Thank you for watching.